Like power was good, family. I was just on the expo line getting some thoughts together as far as what I wanted to share about the situation that took place a few nights ago and a lot of the response that has come out, questions, accusations, misinformation. But while I was on the expo line, another woman collapsed. This was an elder Asian woman, and I heard the thump. Initially I didn't see her, I was just seeing how people were responding to what happened. Then one brother finally got up, he went over, grabbed her hand, was checking on her, and the person who was sitting in the seat right in front of her kind of bent over, you know, to see how she was doing. And we were on a car of the train that was very diverse. It was full, you know, a multi-cultural crowd of people. After a few seconds, I didn't see nobody else really responding, so I went back there, my wife went back there, and my wife took control of the situation because she is a medical assistant, and that's pretty much what she does on a daily, you know, dealing both with seniors but also people who are ill. But the thing that stood out to me was that we had to walk through a whole train full of people and get to this woman, and not too many folks had any interest in responding. And again, this just kind of stuck out to me because, like I said, a lot of response that came out on this other video, people claiming what all they would have done, this, that, and the other. Everyone wanted to put focus on the well-being of the man who passed out, but here we are once again, and nobody else was moving. Like I said, the first brother, the person who was sitting in the seat that kind of bent over, I think he might have been Mexican, but there were two white people sitting directly in front of the woman, and they act like they didn't want to turn their head. But, you know, that's what it is. So, as far as the situation that happened the other night, I kind of wrote out, you know, much of what I remember from that, so I added that to this video. You can go read that. My thing more so is to kind of set up things leading to what all happened. You know, I've done this work for a long time. When I say done this work, I mean out here in the streets dealing with people, dealing with, you know, a lot of issues all folks are dealing with. And one of the main things that brought about the creation of both Blacks in 365 and the Africa Town Coalition was responding to the numerous police murders that's been taking place in our communities. A lot of the police terrorism our people have to deal with on the daily. So, you know, interacting in hostile situations or stepping up to protect people is nothing new to us. Myself and several other comrades, brothers and sisters in our coalition have caught many cases physically intervening, engaging with people who were harming our people. So, you know, this is something we do on the daily. 2 days prior to this particular situation, I was also on the Metro Blue Line, and at one point I started to doze off, and I was awoken feeling my phone being took, like someone was trying to snatch my phone. And sure enough, I woke up and looked, and it was a cat standing over me, you know, looking surprised. So I jumped up. He grabbed what I think was a Grey Goose bottle, you know, holding as though he was about to swing it on me, so I swung on him first. But then towards the back of that car, a white woman just started yelling at the top of her lungs. So, you know, I looked over at her thinking something might have happened to her, but she was looking directly at us and responded to me hitting that dude. So she instantly got on the little speaker thing, put out her cell phone and started calling for police and started describing me. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, this motherfucker just tried to rob me, and she gonna sit there and watch the shit, but then she's going to call the police and describe me. So, you know, I disappeared because the operator ended up stopping the train that night. So that was 2 days prior to the incident that took place in this video, I'm calling, situation I'm calling an attack of the swine on the Metro Blue Line. So the night this situation happened, it's about 11 o'clock at night, and I'm on Slauson at the Crenshaw stop waiting for the 108. So the bus come, I get on it, and in the back of the bus, anybody's been on the 108 up and down Slauson know on the west side is mostly blacks, and then on the east side is mostly Mexicans. And on the west side is usually turned up. A lot of young black people, especially on the weekends and around nighttime. So that was the case. A lot of youngsters were back there, but sitting right in the middle of them, I observed this white boy who, we have now identified as Greg Oreo. Some folks are referring to as Subway Sam. But he was sitting right in the middle of all these youngsters with this suit on, and that, for people that ride the 108, know is somewhat unusual, especially that time of night. But anyway, we get to the Blue Line. I get off the bus. I get on the Metro Blue Line headed southbound, and same individual, comes getting on the Blue Line. So I'm very suspicious of this individual. A white man, this time of night, at that point, possibly following me. So the point is, he got my attention. I'm not, going into too many thoughts about it, but I'm paying attention. So the train takes off. After a few stops, I kind of started focusing out the window, entertaining my own thoughts. But then, I heard the situation on the back of the train, and one thing led to another that I explained on the description of this video. But when it got to the point of Sam about to grab the individual who was passed out, that shit at that point really, to me, was seeming like a fucking setup. Sam, to me at that point, was looking like a provocateur. That's why I went back there to, suggest to the elder brother who was checking them at first to not get caught up. Because, like I said, he was looking real suspicious to me. I had no evidence at that point, but shit was playing out, moving fast. That was my initial response. And then as people started explaining to me why the cat was laid out on the ground, and, what Greg had done, because at that point he had dragged the dude from the seat where he had threw up by the door and placed him on the floor of the train, and he had asked the elder brother to help him pick the unconscious man up to dump him off the train. The elder brother said because Greg stated he wanted to go home and didn't want to wait for the paramedics to arrive. So that's one of the fallacies people are responding on a lot of the posts I'm seeing, trying to make it seem as though, Greg has some noble intentions of trying to make it more convenient for the paramedics to access the unconscious man, which was not the case. Even at one point on the video from that night, he tried to clean it up when I questioned him while he was sitting on the train. He tried to state some fact that there's a lot of people on the train that would like to get home, which was bullshit. But anyway, that is why I was suggesting to everybody to stand down. And it was a situation that was very upsetting, and what I wanted and would have liked to have done, it was most definitely put hands and work that dude. But again, as a lot of people know, they have the police, both the LAPD and Long Beach police, positioned at a lot of the stations up and down the Blue Line. So again, just off the back, initially being suspicious of him and seeing how he created a situation that would very likely get cats baited into a conflict. And as a lot of us have experienced, anytime the police and sheriffs arrive, if we are interacting in a hostile manner with non-black people, they focus on us first and attempt to separate, detain, if not arrest and even take us off. It was one time we were in Vegas, myself and Faison. Went through a lot of shit with Faison, but you know, the brother's a rider. And we saw a homeless elder brother at a gas station, you know, asking folks for change, and this white boy just started taking off on him and had him on the ground, was all on top of him, drilling up. So me and Faison running across the parking lot. We was at one of the casinos and we ran across the street to the gas station, but at the same time, a black bike cop rolled up, hopped off his bike. He pulled out that little stick that unfolds, the little unfolding baton, and squared up against me and Faison and kept ordering us to stand back. And the only reason we eventually stood back was because we saw the white boy on the ground just getting off on the dude, and we knew the longer this coonberry focused on us, the more he was gonna allow the white boy to work that dude. But that's just one of many examples where, you know, when they show up, what goes down. So at that point, having consideration for all of our freedom, I felt it was best to use the phone. And seeing how things have played out, you know, it was a wise decision. So, you know, to the many of you who are saying what you would have done and what should have happened, I most definitely hear you, because in many situations where videos have been posted and brothers have stood there and watched, you know, our sisters get beat down, or people have stood there and you know, watch one police just work it to where they eventually end up claiming a black life, you know, that's not no shit we will stand by and watch. We try to determine the severity of the situation and then use what we believe are the most effective means of dealing with it. So those of you who are suggesting what you would have done, we most definitely need y'all out here. And best believe, based off of this situation with Subway Sam, with the situation of the other brother who was just killed in Long Beach. Again, Subway Sam resides in Long Beach. And it was another incident in Long Beach where a psychopathic white boy walked into the restroom and killed a brother at his family reunion. So those of y'all who selling them tickets, hopefully y'all getting prepared, because this shit is real. And you will get your opportunity, and there are gonna be situations where, yeah, pulling out a phone should be the last shit you think of doing. But you know, as far as a lot of these trolls coming on, just, you know, tell people look in the video, because some of the shit they saying is dismissed with what is said and done in the video. From the jump, the paramedics were contacted. You know, I was very much aware of that. By the time I pulled my phone out, we stayed with the man until the paramedics arrived. At one point, we even had to check them. But now, because of the amount of attention that has been put on this, you know, both that individual who was passed out, you know, he's being highly monitored, so the hospital will be held accountable for what they do or don't do in this situation. But also is exposed the issue of dumping that's happening with homeless people all across the nation right now, where they go into the hospital, and because people don't want to treat them or because they don't have insurance, they are usually dumped out the hospital without adequate attention. And it was just crazy. Another crazy thing with this situation, the dude who collapsed had a hole in the top of his head with metal staples, and as some of you may know, that was a situation with our brother Mac Capone just a few months ago over at Centinela Hospital. He had had surgery and they had cut a tumor out, and after his surgery, based off of what we know, he was not given adequate after treatment. He was released from the hospital, ended up forming a blood clot in his leg that traveled to his lung and killed him. And that was just 10 days after his surgery. So it has most definitely shed light on that situation that is occurring too much. But you know, those of you who have been supporting, sharing the information, coming on, you know, bringing clarity, you know, staying focused on what really took place and the bigger picture that is taking place all across this country right now. Whether some folks want to say it's the energy of Trump, but you know, this shit been happening way before Trump got in office. Even under Obama, this shit was happening. That's when it really started intensifying. You know, 2012, police and others were killing black folks every 36 hours. Now it's gotten down to about every 28 hours our folks are being taken out. So, you know, those of you that are suggesting and saying you would have done whatever, whatnot, it's time for y'all to show up, because, you know, it's a regular thing happening out here daily. And because we have so few people, and like I was saying, you know, when we catch cases, when we get arrested, catch cases, go to court, very few people are stepping up to support us in jail, support with bail, to come to court, to help our families. So, you know, it's just what it is, but hopefully more y'all will stick to your word and be about that. And again, just one last thing to point out, these 3 killings and a situation with Subway Sam just happened after us confronting the Oath Breakers about, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. This stuff has intensified. So again, where folks say, you know, they never come to California, never do this, that, and the other. It's happening right here in your backyard, loved ones. So hopefully y'all get for real about it. You know what I'm saying? Our great brother Mac Capone was most definitely for real about it. And don't, you know, get all caught up with what these little trolls comment and everything. You know what it is, and when it comes down to it, it just depends on what you are prepared to do about it. Black power, long live Mac Capone.